I just want to introduce you, Madam Morag, and good evening, everybody. I'm thrilled to welcome you to tonight's special League of Volunteers event. Our theme this evening, a legacy of service, which highlights the lasting impact that we can make through leadership, commitment, and community. We're honored today to have our immediate past international president, Morag Mathieson, with us. Morag's remarkable journey in Toastmasters is a testament to her dedication, her vision, and her profound belief in the power of service. Let's give a warm welcome and a massive District 84 shower of emojis to Morag as she shared with us this evening her insights on building a legacy that inspires and empowers.
Thank you very much, Maria, and League of Volunteers people from District 84. It is lovely to be with you. Maria had invited me to join you last year, and unfortunately I wasn't able to do that. So it's great that finally I get to be with you in District 84. It is no secret to anyone that a dedicated group of volunteers is an important cornerstone of any non-profit organisation. A recent report shows that approximately 63 million Americans volunteer, around a quarter of the adult population. That makes up billions of volunteer hours to all kinds of organisations, including Toastmasters. As you may or may not know, in my life beyond Toastmasters, I am the chair and the CEO of a child sponsorship non-profit organisation based here in Germany. We have people who work for us and are paid, and we have those who work sometimes just as hard and are not paid, our volunteers. Why do people volunteer? There was a study done by Volunteer Toronto in Canada, and they showed all kinds of reasons why people volunteered. And I think there are three of those, the three top reasons there really speak to me and hopefully to you. 59% of people said, I have been personally affected by the cause, meaning it impacts me in some way. And I think that happens to us in Toastmasters. It certainly happens to me. I know what it's been to benefit from the volunteer activity of others, and therefore being impacted by the cause, I want to give back. In second place, 77% of people said, I want to use my skills and experiences. And that's true for me. If I have it, I want to share it with others because there's a multiplier there when we share with others. And then in top place, 93% of respondents said, I want to make a contribution to my community. And I think that's about having an impact, which is certainly what we do when we volunteer. My conclusion, of course, is that we each have our own motivation for volunteering for anything. The essence of volunteering for me is it's an act of giving. We all joined Toastmasters also for our own reasons. Usually that reason has something to do with benefiting ourselves at the beginning. It's usually about delivering a better presentation or speaking more confidently, something that will benefit us in our lives in the way that maybe we open up more opportunities at work, or others see us more positively, or we feel more confident. And there's nothing wrong in any of that. Or it might also be building a network. I don't know about you, but I joined very simply to meet people and have fun. Not the most common reasons that people say. I had just arrived in a new city in Germany, and I desperately needed to settle in. I needed to understand the local culture, and I needed to expand my network. And Toastmasters was the right place for me to do that, for sure. What I discovered, though, when I began volunteering in Toastmasters is that while I gain a lot for myself by working the programme, and that's great, it's not long-term sustainable. There's a point when I will feel I've drawn everything that I want to draw, and I'm kind of satisfied then. While if I fully participate in our programme, as well as gaining, there's giving. And giving of ourselves to help others, volunteering, is something that perhaps will lead us to a never ending story. We volunteer to give without expectation of anything in return. And that can truly be a long term commitment when we have the right motivation and the right heart. As volunteers, you are generous givers of your time, your talent, and your experience. The old saying holds true: the more you give, the more you'll receive. At the beginning in Toastmasters, for me, it was all about working the programme for my own development and enjoying the social life of my club so that I could build that network. That situation changed for me the day that the club asked me to be the Vice President of Education. That's when I discovered that I could really make a difference to the other members of the club. As Vice President Education, I could create agendas that allowed them to meet their goals. I could help them find the best evaluator for that project. I could help them seek out a suitable mentor just for them. I could organise speech contests where members could stretch their skills and we could all have fun together. I was willing to do that because I could use my own skills to make a contribution to the community of Toastmasters that made up my club. And since that very first volunteer leader position, whatever position I've held as a volunteer, the desire to make a contribution to the community and to help others has been my driving force and my compelling reason to say yes to opportunities. As you're probably aware, my Toastmasters journey certainly continued from that first club officer role and really took off when I won a speech contest, but that's maybe a story for another day. Through that speech contest, I got involved in district activities. I went on to serve as conference chair, the administration manager in the district, a division director, programme quality director, and eventually I became the district director of one of the largest districts in the world. My district at that time was District 59. It covered 18 countries in continental Europe, and we had over 230 clubs. I could look at that as a lot of work for someone who only came to Toastmasters to meet people and have fun. Or I could see it in a different way. That's the way I chose. I got to be the CEO of a pan-European organisation that opened up opportunities where people could develop their communication and leadership skills. And as they did so, as they grew their competence, their confidence would also grow. And that growth in self-confidence would help them to change their lives, their workplaces, and their communities. A much more aspirational and rewarding view of a very big job. My journey of volunteering in Toastmasters continued all the way through serving as region advisor to support district leaders of the districts in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, till serving on the board of directors for a number of years, and then finally last year as international president, and now this year as immediate past international president, still on the board. And I've gone back to my roots. I'm serving as a club president this year. Please don't get the wrong impression. I don't have a superhero cape. But I do have a whole host of superhero friends who, through their volunteering, meant that I didn't have to walk the journey alone. There were those who saw my potential and encouraged me to step up at the right time. There were those who mentored me to help me overcome my nervousness and lack of confidence at times. And there were those who worked alongside me simply because they believed in me and they believed in what I wanted to achieve. Each one of you who has volunteered to serve your club as an officer, your district as a leader, or to support the establishment of new clubs or mentored new members, aspiring leaders, you have contributed in exactly the same way. Your willingness to serve and give of your time, your talents, and your experience have created opportunities for others to grow and to be better and change their worlds simply because of you. Your volunteering has helped create significance. It's not something we often sell when we recruit volunteers. You can make people feel significant by getting to know them. I know that I began to feel valued in Toastmasters when people in my club acknowledged me and they included me even in very small ways. Morag, could you hold that for me while I go do this? It meant for me, I felt like they saw me and that I was part of things. And as I helped them, they got to see my attitude, my work ethic. They saw what I was good at and they saw where I struggled. That meant when they were looking for a leader to step up, they knew whether they wanted to ask me or encourage me to do it. When we get to know our volunteers, we're more likely to be able to position them to take on the sort of work that motivates and engages them and show them how we value and appreciate them. As a volunteer, you increase significance and you create a place and a sense of belonging when you include others. Whenever I'm traveling by car, for example, on a club visit, I will usually ask people if they want to come with me. The car's going anyway, and there's spare seats. And as we make that journey together, we get to build connections. We get to create that personal connection that builds a stronger relationship between us. And it helps us to realize our goals that we want to achieve. It's easier to have difficult conversations and to be open about what's going on in our lives when we really know each other and we build those connections together. Your significance will always outlast you. Even when you are no longer present, your significance will still be yours. In January this year, I was at mid-year training with district leaders in Istanbul in Turkey, and a young woman came bounding up to me and she said, "You probably don't remember me. I'm the club growth director from District 114 in East Africa." And I'm thinking, I've been there on a visit when I was an international director, but I really don't remember her. And I smiled and she said, "I'm only here because of you." And I was very shocked because I didn't remember her at all. And she said, "You came and I saw the things you did and I heard the things you spoke about. And I knew that one day I wanted to contribute in the way that you contribute. And so this is my time to step up and volunteer." A significance that had well outlasted my visit and outlasted me. Our significance keeps on giving. When you positively change the life of another human being, your significance carries on in them and their achievements. And significance satisfies our soul and creates a reward for us. Think of the words of Robert Ingersoll, who said, "We rise by lifting others up." We might think of the significance we create as our legacy, something handed down from one person to another. Legacies come in many different forms. Volunteering is just one of them. The legacy is left as we pass on our skills, our knowledge, and values to others who build on them, often without realizing. There are millions of legacies being passed on every day. Look at the people around you. Whether you're volunteering or mentoring, we are built to leave a legacy. Being aware of our innate need to do so helps us also to receive from the act of volunteering and be more likely to keep on keeping on. Who showed you how to be a great mentor, how to organise an event, how to overcome your nervousness on stage? They were all volunteers. You may remember exactly who they are and how it happened, but it's likely that the volunteer who invested in you has forgotten that moment because they gave to you because it was the right thing to do and not because they expected anything in return from you. Volunteers are so often undervalued and underappreciated, a beautiful gift in any organisation. Today may be a good day to send a note of appreciation or thanks to someone whose legacy you now carry. It will give them a sense of accomplishment. As a volunteer, I encourage you to practice servant leadership, help others grow and succeed, and you in turn will become a better leader. I encourage you to pay it forward. Give the gift of generosity to others, and you will become a richer person. And thirdly, seek significance. Focus on making an impact and leaving a legacy, and knowing that you will have made a difference to someone or to some community somewhere. Thank you for all you do in volunteering. We appreciate you. We appreciate the significance you have and the impact that you make. Maria.
Wow, that was amazing. I see nothing but legacy in this virtual room. Thank you for those inspiring words, Morag. I think we all agree you absolutely have left an indelible marks in all of us, even those that haven't had the chance to meet you personally, but just knowing about you and your story and seeing you rise through the ranks of Toastmasters, you have definitely impressed us and have touched us. So since we have a couple of minutes, will it be okay if we have questions? If anybody has questions in the audience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's
Team,
fine.
questions for Morag? Anybody? Jackie.
Well, you know, I've got a question or
I
two.
know I was looking for your name to see the hand up. Go, Jackie.
Morag, thank you for everything that you've done so far. I really, your altruism is definitely off the charts, and I appreciate that. My question really centers around your path because, you're back now as the club president, which of course is a great role, but all those levels that you traveled up, how many of those did you feel like qualified for before you started it? If that makes sense. How did how many of those were you like, I don't know, but I'll try it? Or yes, I'm going to do that. You had to like percentage it.
Oh, I don't know. I have a saying that is whenever an opportunity comes your way, you should think about saying yes before you say no. Because our great temptation is to immediately say no, either because we think, I don't have the time, or I'm not capable, or insecure, whatever it is. So really think about, could I do this? And for me, that question comes with a, could I do this? Okay, I may need support to be able to do it. There will be things I learn along the way, but could I make a good start at least and get going? And probably all of the roles that I've had, I felt I wouldn't have done them if I didn't feel I could have done something with it. That didn't mean that at the beginning I felt like I could do it absolutely. One of the the people I quote around this is Pat Johnson, who's one of our past international presidents.
Mhm.
When I was the brand new program quality director, she was the international president. And she talked to us about, with district leadership positions or club leadership positions, it's like going to school for a year. So your district has one place in district director school this year, and only one person gets to do it. And this year it happens to be Felicia. And at the end of the year, she will then have completed her schooling and know how to do that role. And that gives you permission to learn. It gives you permission to make mistakes and to really feel like I don't have to know it all on day one. And I love that approach to thinking about our leadership positions.
100% agree with that. Really, you're right. A rising tide lifts all boats, and you have definitely risen our tide in a big way. I love your idea of how much work is this versus how much progress are we making. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm hooked into this word of significance, and I'm gonna write a speech on that. Thank you again. Appreciate
Please
it.
do.
I love
Please
that.
do.
Please
Tell me where,
invite us.
tell me where you're delivering it.
Yes,
And if
please
I can
invite
be
us.
there, I will.
I
Absolutely.
will.
Thank you. Thank you. I do agree that whole sense of around creating and cultivating belonging and significance, and the fact that it will outlast us. I absolutely agree with that. I do see hands up from Vicky. Vicky, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Morag. I also am so inspired by the messages I've heard you deliver over your career that I've been fortunate enough to hear. I apologize for not being on camera. I am driving, but I am curious, sometimes from it's similar to Jackie's question in a way, when we're starting in Toastmasters and we're going through the ranks in club, often we are designated to take on an officer. We're elected somehow or other, but it's not always a choice option, although it's always educational and probably ends up being a happy circumstance. But when you move into the international positions, what inspires you, or what was your motivation for going higher and going into the international positions?
Mm. At the end of my district director term, I was district director, or district governor as it was then, in 2012-13. And we were quite a group of people who got along well. And actually, of any year, I think, of any class, more of us have gone on to serve as region advisors or serve on the board over the time since then. And at the end of that term, a huge group of us went for lunch, and we sat together and we talked about, so what's next? And I'd kind of assumed, well, I'm now the immediate past district director. That's what I'm going to do, and then it's done. And I was aware of the other possibilities. And I'd had a couple of people come and say to me, are you thinking about it? And the honest answer was no. I'm doing the job I've got. And when that's done, I'll think about something else. But with this group, people were talking a lot about, I'm thinking I'll do this, I'll do that in the future, which then began me to think how interesting that would be. What would I like to do? And I guess the role I knew best at that point was the region advisor role, because in district leadership, you had worked alongside your region advisors. And when I was program quality director, our region advisor was actually past international president Ted Corcoran. Can you imagine having him for your RA as a district leader? It was fabulous. And then the next year was a lady from Dubai called Uma Radhakrishnan, who was just incredible. And I was so inspired by those leaders that I thought, I think it would be interesting and I would really like to do that job. And that's what made me do it. And then after having completed my term as region advisor, again, some people came and said, we really think you should serve on the board. And here is why. If it had just been down to me, I'm not sure that I would have done it by myself. I think I was one of those people who needed someone to say the I see something in you kind of thing that we often need to hear, that it's not just us thinking we could do it, but that somebody else actually thinks this could be a good idea if you were to step up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. It's
Well,
interesting. Well, one of the stories I've told in the past has been about joining my club and how it took me a long time to join my club because of all kinds of issues at the club, nothing to do with me. But I often think those first officers, I was speaking with one of them recently who's like, can't believe that we just got it so wrong at the beginning. You know, you don't realize when someone walks through the door what their future is going to be. So if on that first night I'd visited someone said, oh, she's going to be the international few years, would they have dealt with the situation differently to just, I was just another guest coming into the club? And I think that's the thing in volunteering and in significance and legacy. We actually don't know where the journey will go of the people that we serve. And we get to be a small part of that journey with them. But we don't know if it, so I just encourage and applaud everyone who would volunteer and support people to develop, because you never know where your support will take someone.
wow, that's just amazing. Do we agree, District 84? How
Yeah.
amazing, how that's just gets me all my renewed sense of volunteerism and service this evening is through the charts, to quote Jackie, because how powerful when somebody tells you, I believe in you, I see you, you can do this, I'll be by your side. I think that that's just an incredible amount of collaboration and compassion and empathy that is happening around, because we all have different things happening, and how just transformational. I think that when we give ourselves that opportunity, I don't think that we're ever really ready for something that can take on to be such a big role as your role, but you have definitely made an impact, and we're so grateful for you, Morag. Thank you for those inspiring words this evening.
Thank you.
So team, if you, yeah, go ahead. No, please go ahead, please.
Sorry, I was going to say just one small thing. Sometimes it can be something very small. One of my great supporters was a past district governor from my home district called Benjamin, who was just kind of always there in the background for me. He was not someone who stepped up and said, I need a title and a badge and any of that. He was just always there in the background. And I remember going to chair my first ever district council meeting. And I was really nervous because it was a big council and, there's always stuff going on. And he said to me, just come outside the room before the meeting would start. He'd come outside the room with me. He said, do you have everything at the table that you need? Yes, I do. And he said, that's fine. And he said, we're going to walk in together. And he walked alongside me. And as we walked into the room together, and it was a long room, walked from the back of the room to the front, he said, we're going to breathe in time together. And we're just going to keep walking and breathing. And then about halfway down the hall, he said, you can do it now. And he stepped to the side and I walked on. So unless you knew what was going on, you would never have seen his contribution. And he, I would say, contributed to many people volunteering in an informal way. And some of those things are really big impact, as well as the big jobs that people take on.
Absolutely. I think it takes all of us. So thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule and out of your travels to come hang out with District 84 this evening or this morning.